Welcome to another episode of the Flag Stays Down podcast. Full house tonight, boys. And man, coming off a great weekend. Chelsea winning 4-1 away at Burnley. Tonight, you got myself, Andy, with me, Matt, and Parker. Start with you, Parker. How you doing tonight?
You said it perfectly, man. It was a great weekend. I had myself a fun weekend though. I got to go down to Colorado Springs for the weekend and just do a weekend away with the wife. It was her birthday last Wednesday, and so celebrated her birthday by going to Red Rocks to see a comedy show, which was awesome. And then after that on Thursday, we headed to just a mountain town getaway cabin escape. She took some vacation. I worked out of the cabin, just went on some fun hikes and did some fun things. So always good to get away, board the dogs, and just kind of have a weekend for the two of us to do whatever the hell we want. It's not too different from our normal day to day, but it's still fun to hike different trails. And we did a hike called the Manitou Incline, which is sort of infamous out here in Colorado Springs area, where it's a mile long and you ascend 2,000 feet. So it's literally like doing box stairs, step ups for an hour straight. You take a lot of breaks. You're at altitude. You started at like 8,300 feet, and it's pretty brutal. But got to check it off the bucket list of something to do and something to complete, and just say that you did it. Provides for some pretty incredible views, and we went pretty early, so sun was coming up. So it's awesome, man. Just it's the fun stuff to do out in Colorado, right? Just enjoy the scenery and be outside and go do the things. So overall, great weekend celebrating with you guys and cheers into the win. So how about you, Matthew? How are you?
Yeah, busy weekend. Did a lot of stuff with the family. We had a friend's birthday party. A good friend of all three of ours, Kurt, our good friend Kurt. So it was his birthday. So we went over to their place. They were having a party, so made the drive out there and just hung out there for a few hours and came home. And then today we went apple picking in McGuanago. So we did that and then hung out with some other friends of ours. Just they made us some dinner, which is delicious. And then we kind of had to rush back and make some pickups. My mother-in-law came into town tonight, so Molly went to go pick her up, and then I went to go pick up Molly's friend from the airport, who was just out doing kind of a similar thing, Parker, to what you were doing, just a bunch of hikes and stuff out in Arizona and California. So they were both arriving at the exact same time. So we kind of had to split the difference and kind of go get one and the other. So, but yeah, everything's good. Was able to watch the game with my son, so it was a good time. He slept through most of it, which I expect, especially the first half. But yeah, all in all, things are good. We're here, looking forward to it. Collins, how about you, sir? How was your weekend?
Sounds like the birthday adjacent week for the Flag Stays Down. Today was my wife's birthday. So I wanted to give a quick shout out to her. But yeah, man, everybody's celebrating birthdays this week. Do you guys know? And I just heard this week, so it's funny that came up. But if you get a group of like 23 people together, there's like a 50% chance that two people in that group share a birthday.
I heard that.
That blows my mind. So anyways, but no, my outside of that, man, it's yeah, I'm glad you guys had fun this weekend because I was working. So big fuck you to the cold of Nebraska, except for any people who listen to this pod out there.
I hear that we're big in Nebraska, so big footy fan there.
Yeah, go Big Red. All right, well, boys, we did have one match. And remember when we were doing two matches a week? Did have one match this week, away to Burnley. Again, 4-1. own goal from Sterling, penalty from Palmer, goal from Nico Jackson on the day for the Blues. As we move up to the top of the bottom half, boys, we're in 11th, moving on up. It was kind of a tale of two halves, though. Most of the scoring came in the second. First half, rather dreadful. But Parker, we'll start with you. I'm curious to know, what you saw as the difference, or what changes were made to make that difference.
Without being in that locker room at halftime, it's hard to fully know, but I have to believe that a lot of this win comes from the halftime speech. I have to think that Poch kind of laid down some wood and said, this isn't acceptable and this needs to change, because it felt like the energy and the mindset of the play changed a lot. The first half, I don't want to say they were dreadful, but it was pretty close to dreadful. It was not a lot of positives. And Raheem Sterling was really our only shining spot. But gun to my head, who else performed well in the first half? Jesus, not much else went right. Not much else looked good at all. So have to believe that some of this falls on Poch. We are quick to blame him when things go wrong. We're quick to point fingers. And look, when all is said and done, we came back from a losing position to score 4 goals and win pretty comfortably, right? So when nothing else looks like it was the main difference, they gotta give a shout out to the gaffer, to the man in charge, the person who's pulling the strings. So but a lot changed. Nico was the sub that was made, but I don't think it's all falls to Nico. I think a lot of the mentality changed and a lot of the aggression and desire to kind of get after it changed.
It seemed like a classic go through the motions first half. It's really what it seemed like. Passing for passing's sake, nothing really lively, just tough to watch. It really was, especially coming off the fact that we had just won our last 2, right? We're starting to gain some momentum, and then we start out against Burnley like that. It was difficult to fathom that we would have any shot of coming back in that match, especially after the goal that we conceded. A turnover in the midfield. Cucurella was put on skates, basically. I don't think he really had any one of his feet set at any time. He just looked like a baby giraffe out there. But props to the boys for showing up in the second half. But yeah, that first half, it did not inspire any hope that we would have a shot at coming back or winning that game with the way that we were playing.
Yeah, I know, Matt, you've thrown around, and Parker, you as well, the maturity of this team. I think that's part of it. We've talked a little bit about there's going to be those growing pains. There's going to be games where we're like, what the fuck is going on? And I think we saw a little bit of that, but I have to agree with Parker on this one. I think when you kind of look at, kind of zoom out and look at it, right? We saw this under Tuchel, where sometimes we would struggle in that first half and then come out firing in that second half. And then Graham Potter took over and we would suck in the first half, and then we would come out and suck more in the second half. And now you got Poch, and it not consistently, but it's been a mixed bag in the first half. In matches, either we're dull or we're on fire. Either there's no real rhyme or reason to it. But today was one of those days that Potter couldn't seem to figure out. But Poch did, where it's kind of lackadaisical in the first half, and Matt, like you said, going through the motions, and it's got to be that halftime talk, because all of a sudden things just kind of clicked. Now, granted, Raz, I think overall had a very good game from start to finish, but you can't rely on one winger to kind of carry you through a match. So overall, it seems like a a lot more motivation coming into that second half.
The one thing I'll say that is a breath of fresh air, and I hope it's a trend that continues, is because we will concede goals, right? We will go down in games. The team DNA at the start of the year seemed like once we're down, we're out. And there was, we could throw everything at it, but there was no hope of scoring a second goal or scoring a goal to get back in the game. And I'm hoping that the tides are shifting there, where, when the chips are down, the boys can kind of rally together and get behind each other and find a way to score a goal, and not just wait for that to be the catalyst for them to, kick it into gear. So I'm not gonna, sit here and badmouth a team that scored 4 goals. Even if we went down, even if it's against Burnley, we scored 4 goals. Like, it was great, and some of those goals were really well worked. Especially the 4th goal was really, really well worked. 3rd goal was bang bang, happens real quick. It's just like, I'm not going to badmouth the team that figured it out, because we've sat here time and time again on a Sunday night and said, how could we not figure this out? How did we not get a result out of this game? How did we drop points to insert bad team name here? And we found a way this time. So that's trending. And Collins, you said the growing pains and the things. We're going to have 20-30 minute stretches where we don't look great yet. It's going to happen in this development process. It's, can we put together 60-70 minutes to compensate and fire on cylinders to sort of outmuscle our opponents?
I would say for me, I didn't feel comfortable until we got the 3rd goal. I talked about this either last week or the week before, but like, I want to see clean goals. I don't want to see, okay, we scored on a pen or an own goal, right? Like, I want to see us like actually create something. So had we won just 2-1, I still wouldn't have been as happy as I am with how we scored the other 2 goals. It showed the creativity. It showed that we can finish outside of an own goal or a penalty, right? And I think that's the thing that's been missing in the last, month or so, is we have all these close chances and it still doesn't feel like it feels like the only way that we can score is by one of those 2 things, right? It's just not going to be in our favor. I think the fact that we created a lot of those and the fact that we finished them, like we had talked about Nico not, like, basically missing sitters, right? And then he has this world-class touch and technique in a very tight area in the box and puts away that goal. Like, that's what we want. So that's my biggest takeaway, aside from the win, is how we scored those last 2 goals. It is indicative of what this team can do, and I'm hoping it's a step in the right direction of what we see throughout the rest of the season.
See, and even at 2-1, I would have been happy with the result, because at the end of the day, what matters is the 3 points, and especially for a team that struggled to pick up any points last year, right? And so, yeah, if not every goal is going to be clean. I've said it. I feel like week in and week out, law of averages is eventually going to correct all of this. Especially for a team that's leading the league in XG, it's leading the league in chances created. Eventually that's all going to work itself out. And just like in baseball, Drink, you go into a big slump, 0 for 25 slump. Sometimes you just need that nubber off the end of the bat to trickle into right field. At the end of the day, a hit's a hit. A goal's a goal. A win's a win. And especially on a weekend where only 3 teams in the top 10 picked up all 3 points, it would have been a big weekend regardless. And it reminds me of a tweet or an X, or I forgot where we landed on that, from the weekend, where hey, we won this weekend. Have we been losing for so long that we forgot how to celebrate? And I think that reigns true, and it reigns true for all three of us, I think, on this pod sometimes as well. But hey, man, three points is 3 points. I'm glad we scored 4 goals. It was tremendous. But I think even at 2-1, it would have been all right.
Matt's point is about instilling confidence, though. That's what instilling confidence for the future, not about the points, not about the result.
But
we
but
think
doesn't
that this
3
team
points instill confidence?
Not when you score in bullshit ways, it doesn't. To use your example, if you hit that number right and it dribbles into right field, you're not super confident that you're going to go 3 for 4 the next day. Now you might have some confidence that, like, sure, you got one, right? But until you go 3 for 4 with some like hard hit singles, you're not going to have that confidence that you can keep doing this on a consistent basis. The goals that were showed after the fact, after the first 2, those are confidence building goals. Those were well worked team goals out of great situations. Something from nothing. Caicedo intercepts a ball or challenges in the middle of the park. Gallagher picks it up, feeds a beautiful ball to Raz, and Raz slots it. When was the last time we saw someone slot a ball like that in open play just from a break? Like, I'm not confident that we can do that until that goal happened. I'm with you, Matt. Like, those goals instilled a lot of confidence going forward.
No, okay, I agree. Those the second 2 goals definitely were confidence boosters. But I would argue that the first 2 also were. Cole Palmer's first ever Premier League goal, first goal with the club, I would like to think would boost a little confidence there. And then Sterling, not Sterling, the Dak Hill own goal. Sterling made something out of nothing there. It was a well worked ball, and somebody gets on the end of that far post or middle of the goal there. We're talking something else. I think both of those, and especially the rapid response of the own goal, right? The chance created, the equalizer there, when in the past, we give up that first goal, maybe now we're going to give up another maybe 2 or 3 to a shit team. I think all goals, especially in this one, were confidence boosters. But I do want to talk about a little bit of confidence here, and then we've seen now Nico as well as Armando Broja. Hold on, I gotta worry about that pronunciation there because Albanian, it's Broja. Broja came out on the club website and said it's Broja. So take your pick there. Armando versus Nico. We saw them both in this match. Saw them in half piece. Saw them split it last week. Carabao Cup and Premier League. We've got a little striker competition going here, boys. And what are we seeing out of those 2?
I mean, Nico is your down and dirty kind of guy. Like, he's gonna fight for everything. He's gonna just get in behind people, and he's gonna be a little bit of like your speedster and whatever. Broja is gonna be your big body, your hold up. He's gonna be that guy. I like that we have different looks with them. I don't necessarily knock Broja's performance. I know a lot of people do for the Burnley game. I think he did his job. It was predominantly, the Raz show in the first half. Nobody else was really doing much. So I don't think he necessarily played bad. He just wasn't playing as well as Raz, but then again, nobody was, right? So I don't think he played bad by any stretch. Nicholas Jackson, obviously he got the goal, which was great for him, especially when we talk about confidence and kind of his immature antics, shall we say, on the field, and the yellow card accumulation. Just when he came on as a sub, he looked different. Like, he was talking with Enzo like right away, and he was just laser focused. And that was something that I really like haven't seen before. But then again, he's always like started, so maybe I haven't paid as close of attention. But just seeing him come on to start the second half, he looked like somebody who was determined to go out and do something. So I like that. I like that aspect a lot. I still think Nicholas Jackson is the preferred striker in our team, but I like the fact that we have another option, which we haven't said that in a long time, and B, we have an option that's not the same thing. So we can use them both if we need to, depending on the matchup. If we got like two big physical center backs, we can throw Broja out there and just kind of bruise around for a little bit. And he's got talent. We know he does. So I like both of them. I think for me, Nicholas Jackson gets the nod right now.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. I think Nico's probably your preferred guy today. Broja's still got a lot of untapped potential, I would say. He's still coming in, and last year was supposed to be a big year for him, and he goes down with injury. So I think he's still a bit behind the 8 ball on the learning curve side. But look, the way that they both play, I don't see either of them really finishing a lot of matches that they start. So I think you're going to see both strikers at some point. Now, whether that's halftime, 60, 70 minutes, take your pick. But I think you see both get looks in most games with it, which I think is going to be good, right? Job of a striker is to be relatively anonymous until the big moment happens, and then you get your chance. I think Nico does a good job of popping up and getting on the ball more so, and he can carry the ball more. But Broja is a big target to aim at, and I think his whole of play is incredibly underrated. And you didn't see a ton of it yesterday, but I think the week prior it was phenomenal. So I think that was Kai Havertz's biggest strength for us. Was he was who Kepa always aimed for on deep balls, and Kai would try to win aerial duels. I think he did a good job at that. I think Broja does a good job at that, and then getting behind goals, right? Just that one stat that matters, which is your goal tally. We're creating more chances for our strikers this year. You can tell that Nico's had his handful so far this year that unfortunately he hasn't put them away, but balls are going into the right spots. Our strikers are in the right spots, and I think that's going to lead to a very comfortable, solid amount of goals for the both of them.
Yeah, the thing that impresses me the most, and this comes from both of them, you talked about the hold up play from Nico, but breaking the lines. Both of them like to make that run off the shoulder of the center back, which is something that we did not see with Kai Havertz, at least a whole ton. It's something that, with the players we have, with the playmakers we have in the midfield, the distribution we have with Caicedo and Enzo and, Gallagher making runs and, all that, it's something, it's an extra element that breaks down a defense. Now, I agree with you guys. Nico is number one. I've seen some key adjustments from him. It looks like he has figured out the pace of play in the Premier League as opposed to La Liga. He's figured out the physicality of it. And you can see that confidence kind of starting to come through in him over the last probably 2 or 3 matches. I will say though, I'm surprised I pulled up some of their deep dive analytics, and outside of key passes, man, they're pretty damn similar. Within 500ths in XG chain, build up, goals per 90, shots per 90, all of that, very similar production and from that number 9 role. So I think we're in good hands, and you guys are spot on in terms of can they finish a match? Or, are they going to be finishing a lot of matches? No, not, like you said, not with the way they play. But then you got a decent decent guy coming off the bench, right? Just another weapon to throw out there. So yeah, Nico number one for now until one of them gets hot, and we'll go from there.
I love that they both play physically. Like you said, Collins, that Nico is adjusted to the physicality. Nico seems like a dog. Like he looks like he's up for a fight most days. I mean, he's had torn jerseys already and stuff. He kind of reminds me a bit of Costa, where he's just like, I'll fight you. That's fine. Like, and I love that attitude, especially in the striker position. I think your job is to disrupt, your job is to cause chaos, your job is to throw some bows and get dirty while you're doing it, right? So I love that attitude, and I think Broja is that as well. We just haven't seen as much of him, but I think they both play with some physicality to them, which I really appreciate.
And we got to remember the sample size with Broja. Broja is real small. Featured in 12 matches last year. He's at what, 3 this year right now. And man, those ACL injuries, as Matt knows, can be brutal. So it can only get better, I would assume, for Armando. And Parker, talking about somebody who's got that dog in them. I made this comp to you pre-pod. You seem to enjoyed it. Axel Disasi, I think, has a lot of the positive traits that we saw and loved from Antonio Rudiger, without some of the excess kind of bullshit stuff, like the Rudy blasts
That we also loved.
we all loved until he signed another contract, and then I didn't love it anymore. But I would like to throw out there that Axel Disasi will be to Pochettino what Rudiger was to Tuchel.
I hope that Axel ups his level of shithousery to Rudy standards. I think that's missing. But his energy and excitement when we score, absolutely, I'm here for it. I'm a big fan of what he's doing. We can obviously point out the Nicholas Jackson and his celebration there. I love it, right? He's a guy who's out there playing for his team, the hype man for his team, big physical guy. I just need a little bit more shithousery from him.
I think he's great, man. I think it's not just him too. I think this team is starting to celebrate together as a team, right? It's Levi Colwell as well. It's Caicedo and Enzo. It's all these guys are genuinely happy and stuff that you love to see. It's Axel's starting to feel like a clubhouse guy, and these guys just came here. So I think all of those roles are getting sorted out in real time of who's your energy guy, who's your rah-rah guy, who's your rally guy, who's your stone pillar, confidence, lead by example guy. Like all of those roles figure themselves out in a team that's literally brand new. I think he's becoming a pretty big part. He's featured, he's consistent, he's solid. I didn't love his performance on the goal. Aside from that, I thought he's been really solid a lot of this year. So I'm all for it. And we need guys like that. When we lost Rudy, we talked about the feeling of the clubhouse when a guy like that leaves. We've had a lot of guys that carry weights that are beyond their play on the field. And when you lose them, you feel it, and it sucks. And we didn't have a ton of guys to fill that role. So I'm for these guys rallying behind each other and cheerleaders who go hard on the celebrations. That's great to see.
Yeah, Matt, my only argument against more shithousery from Disasi is that we have enough guys picking up yellow cards on this team for stupid shit that if Axel just wants to be the rah-rah guy, like I'm good with that. We don't need more useless yellow cards.
Can you
Nah,
imagine how many yellows Rudy would have?
earn it. See, the yellows that we do accumulate are because of stupid stuff that it's just immaturity. That's not shithousery. Those are two completely different things. Like whenever you would see Rudy on like a huge challenge, or if he would just flop, you see that little shit-eating grin on him, and like that's the stuff I want to see. Like I need that. I need a little bit more of that from Axel. I would be absolutely thrilled. I love him right now, but just that little extra, perfect.
No, and Parker, like what you said, I love that he's when we score, he's seemingly the first guy. I don't know how he's always there, but he's always the first guy hugging the goal scorer. Dude must do the. You guys remember, or Matt? You remember Todd Coffey, Brewers, big Ginge sprinting in from the bullpen? That must be Axel Disasi when we score a goal. Just send it. But Parker, like what you said, it's something that we've been missing since Rudiger left, since some of these other guys left. Last year, we score a goal and it'd just be like, okay, I'm gonna go celebrate by myself over here. Full team celebration. Disasi seems to be the leader of that. He's the hype man, and in what's going to be eventually an all French back line. I think that's crucial. I don't see him being unseated in this back line. So more Axel, please.
And up the shithousery just a little bit.
Just below yellow card level.
Yes, perfect. I'll allow him to sneak in a yellow here and there, but yeah, we'll toe that line.
Him and Nico Jackson can switch off every match.
Yeah, perfect.
All right, so another bright spot from this year, and a bright spot yesterday against Burnley. We've talked a little bit about him already. Raheem Sterling, forces the own goal, draws a penalty, and then Parker, you mentioned him slotting that ball home for the third goal. He's had a hell of a start to the year. This seems to be the Raz that we were expecting last year.
That we thought we signed. That guy. We all gave him shit when he came out publicly and said he thinks he can lead this team in goals, and we're all like, yeah, right. Like, wake up, you're dreaming. And boy, is he's playing with a chip on his shoulder, man. And he doesn't get these stats. These are my campaign. This is my official campaign to change these rules, because I've said it since I followed the sport that if you create an own goal, that you should get the assist. And if you draw the penalty that gets converted, even though you don't take it, you should also get that assist. So in my book, he had 2 assists and 1 goal, which didn't show up on paper. Unfortunately, I don't have that kind of pull. But I mean, how else do you want to say it? I mean, he was the guy that literally assisted that own goal, and he was the one that, without him drawing that penalty, like he did all the things, right? He took people on 1-on-1, 2-on-1 sometimes. I think that the own goal was 2-on-1, and then 1-on-1 other times. He was the only one trying to make something happen. So it seems like he's playing with the fire under his ass. Maybe that has something to do with the fact that he got snubbed from the England squad, and he feels like he has something to prove. We can touch on that a bit as well. But I don't really care what the reason is. He seems like he's playing some of his best and like a man possessed. And when we don't have much going on, he kind of feels that, it seems, and he tries to take things on himself and make things happen, and does. He created opportunities that didn't get converted. He created the opportunities that got converted. Like, the guy did damn near everything, and he was my man of the match when he forced the own goal. He was even more my man of the match when he drew the penalty. And when he took the goal himself, I mean, like it was cemented, right? It became more and more and more and more evident as the match went on who was the best person on the pitch.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. And I had to watch the match today instead of live. So I had already known what was happening. But yeah, just as you watch, it was the first half. Raz was one of the few, if only, bright spots. Forces the own goal, draws the penalty, slots that ball home, automatic. I mean, it's not the John Terry hat trick, but it's the Raz hat trick. Like, I don't know. No, he's been phenomenal this year. And you look at his numbers from last year, he's already at half of the amount of league goals that he scored last year for us. We are 8 games into the season.
Wow.
So I think absolutely, this is the year for Raz. And Parker, you talked about, I can lead this team in scoring. We were all calling for him to be sold to Saudi Arabia, and he came out in an interview and said, like, no, I'm going to stay. I have something to prove. I want to be the leader on this team. And on a very young team where we didn't sign anyone over the age of 25 this summer, he has stepped up and been that leader. God, if he can put another couple, string of matches together here where he's scoring, assisting, creating, he might be in the player of the season talks for the club at least. But absolutely snubbed by Gareth Southgate. And I don't know if that's a Gareth Southgate thing or Premier League hates Chelsea.
So I have a theory. I don't have many of these, so I'm using my one for the year. Looking at his club history, he's always been little fish, big pond. He's never been the guy, right? He was at Liverpool for 3-4 seasons when there was, I think Suarez was there, Coutinho was there. You still had Stevie G there for a little bit. Hendo was coming into his own behind Stevie G. Like, they were kind of like the focal points of that squad. Then he goes to City. We all know the talent that's at City. Comes to Chelsea. Yeah, he's a big name. But there's still a lot of other big names that are there too. He's not necessarily like the focal point. Come to this year. He's one of the oldest people we have on the roster. He has to be a leader. Like, that's what he has to do. It can't just be, okay, yeah, I'm kind of like second, third fiddle. I need to be more involved, more predominant. I think he's taking more of a leadership role. And I think that's why we're seeing him play the way that he's playing right now. Because if you look at who's with him, Palmer, Noni, Mudryk, Jackson, Broja, they're all 22 and under? Like, and he's 28, 29, something like that. He's got to be the leader out there, especially with that young core up top. He needs to be the leader. He needs to be leading by example. And I think that's what he's doing. He's like, okay, I'm one of the older guys now. I'm one of the more seasoned guys now. I need to show these young kids what to do, how it can be done. Like, I need to take it upon myself to be that guy. I think that's what we're seeing. I think he's seizing that opportunity and very much capitalizing on it. That's my working theory.
Can you imagine if we got 2017 to 2020 Raheem Sterling? I'm looking at his stats right now. 77 goal contributions, goals and assists in 100 matches in that 3-year stretch.
That's also City. So, we talked about this pre-pod, the Erling Haaland debate. if he did come to Chelsea, would he have had the season he did? Absolutely not. I think for Raz's perspective, he was a kid at Liverpool. It took him a few seasons to get up to speed to where he excelled at City. Because I remember the first season, he was shit. Like, he was just shit. Like, everybody at City did not want him. Then he came into his own, right? He started to develop, play a lot more, be more involved. And he started to grow. Now I think he's evolving into more of that like, okay, you need to be on the pitch. You are going to impact games a lot more than you have before, and you are going to be the guy that we're going to be running a lot of stuff through. So that's the way that it's got to be. And I think he's seeing that as an opportunity for him. It's another stage in his career. And I think that's what he's doing right now, and he's capitalizing on it.
Let's also remember that he did this on the left side today, when he's primarily dominated on the right for us. We talked about this with kind of the emergence of Cole Palmer being more and more predominant and more impactful for us. Do we see Cole go out on the right and then Raz come on the left? Like, where do you play that? And if yesterday was any indication of that, I mean, it seemed to work out pretty damn well.
Absolutely. We've speculated on that. What happens if we're running everything through Sterling like we have been doing on the right, and we beat that to death. We're running everything through the right, nothing goes to the left. We start to see a shift in the last few matches. We're running a little bit more on the left. We see good opportunities coming from the left. And now you throw Raz, your focal point, on the left. Let Cole Palmer operate, do what he does. It opens things up drastically. And also, Collins, I will give you your credit. Also, the emergence of Levi Caldwell as the left back and not Chills. I will give you that. But you see a lot more. You see that we can have success on both sides of the pitch. It's not just one. I like it. I think right now, when you have the options of Palmer, Sterling, Mudryk, and you can run those three, obviously Mudryk's going to be primarily on the left and whatever, but when you can move Raz either side and kind of switch what side you want to attack, I think that's huge.
I was just about to ask, is that because Ben Chilwell isn't the left back? But
yeah, I know.
I'll leave that for another day. No, and we had the conversation last week of how do you line up a fully healthy back four or back three? Where does Christian Nkunku fit into this? Word is he's coming back end of November, early December.
Yeah. Do you want my answer? Is that a hypothetical?
No, go ahead. I want everybody's answer. Let's go.
I think the person he upseats is Conor Gallagher. I think that's the weak pillar. And then it makes it makes Enzo's sink deeper, where I think he's a little bit more comfortable. And I think Nkunku plays more of the role that you're seeing Enzo play today, where he's further forward, where he's in shooting positions, where he's a little bit more of that number 10. But I think that's how I would line him up today.
I don't know. That's my answer. I can see pros and cons with everybody. If you take one person out, then whatever. It's hard for me to pull Connor right now. Just with the good form that he's been showing this season, I think it's hard to pull him. And the fact that he's, Captain Connor, well, that's kind of a big move to explain now. Like, why are you taking off your captain? I mean, Pochettino can handle it, but I think that's a kind of a hard move to explain. I think it depends on what happens with Jackson and Broja. I really do. If we get into a situation where neither one of them can score, then he easily can slide in there. I think there's going to be a lot shorter leash on both of them when Nkunku does come back. I don't think it's just going to be, okay, yep, you're going. Like, okay, you played bad, next man up. I think it might be a little bit shorter for them. Now, the thing with Nkunku is you can kind of move him all over. He's kind of like an Ian Madsen, just a little bit further forward, I think. I would be intrigued to see if we do anything different up top, or if we switch formation, do something different. Who knows? But it's hard for me to clearly pick out one person who I would pull and do a straight swap right now.
Yeah, I don't know if he replaces the number 9s, just because we saw his link up play with Jackson in the preseason was just top class A1. And yeah, you can say it's preseason all you want, but at the end of the day, that's where Nkunku thrived in the Bundesliga, was working off that primary striker. It's gonna have to be someone in the midfield. Back four is untouchable. Caicedo and Enzo are untouchable. And then you've got Raz, Palmer, Mudryk. Those three are going to rotate. Nico up top, at least for now. I think it has to be Gallagher, and almost like a 4-4-1-1. They're kind of a hybrid 4-4-2, with Nkunku playing behind Jackson as that secondary striker. That may change from game to game. Poach seems to have a little bit of versatility in his rosters, so maybe you see it every once in a while Nkunku play out on the right or play out on the left. But I think making that, just making the general assumption, yeah, I think it's got to be Connor at this point. Not to say Connor's had a bad season, because he's been pretty good.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very matchup specific. That's where I think we're going to be able to figure out where he goes. Like, he might not play every game. Like, it's very possible if we think that we're going to get bossed around in the midfield, then maybe we do keep Connor out there or something like that. Or if Enzo or Caicedo need a break for a game, you slot Connor back and let Nkunku run in Connor's usual spot. It could be anything. Connor seems the most likely, but I don't know how much I would agree with inserting him right away as soon as he's fit. And to me, I don't see that happening. I see more of a working out who's going to work well with who. We've seen this before with midfield at Chelsea, especially when we talk about last season, like who worked well with who. Like, it took Enzo and Kova a little bit to get together. Conte, when he was available, we saw different things. I think it opens up a lot of possibilities, and I think you'll see a rotating midfield. I don't think it's going to be a fully solidified midfield. I think it's going to be more of a rotating midfield.
The one thing I'll say to throw this all into the works, because we kind of started here and I'll bring it back full circle. I think we're supposed to see Reece James back for the Arsenal match in 2 weeks. That solves your captain problem, Matt, because our named captain then kind of gets back. But it's definitely unfortunate that our captain and vice captain are both sidelined with injuries. So I don't think Connor would take it too hard, just because he's sort of the captain by default right now. But my hope is, and so watching Chelsea the past 3 years, really, we focused on that right side primarily because of what Reece James brings to the table. Reece James goes down. Malo Gusto kind of heroically steps in and becomes this guy that no one really thought he could be, and replaces Reece James as close as you can to replace Reece James, and then duplicates it, right? Goes down that right side. So we funnel everything down the right. Without either of those two, we see a balance. And I brought it up on who scored, just like the which side do we, attack down the right, the middle, the left, and it was about as even as I've ever seen it. It was still slightly favored to the right, but it was like 30s, 20s, like it just all out like even splits, right? It was great to see. And I hope that is sort of the learning takeaway from some of the situations that we've been put in. We mentioned Colwell kind of emerging as a left, Mudryk getting more confidence. I hope all these things kind of contribute to a more balanced attack, left and right, where we're not just doing the same damn thing over and over and over again, because it becomes predictable for all of us. We all know what passes are getting played. So you bet the people that are getting paid big bucks know what's going on too. So I hope that we learn from those mistakes, and we learn that the balance creates more opportunity.
It's one of those things that might be a blessing in disguise, right? Like, what happens if the right side goes down? Can the left side maintain? Yes, it can. And we saw that pretty heavily in the Burnley game. So it might have been the best thing that's happened for this club, is the unfortunate Reece James injury and Malo Gusto card. It might have opened up a more expansive side that we all as fans kind of thought was there, but now we're actually able to see it and see what it's capable of.
All right, boys. Well, the last topic for the night, save the best for last. I think we have a top 3 Premier League keeper on our books right now. That's big Bobby Sanchez. I've watched probably more Premier League this year than I have in previous years. Not too impressed with the current crop of keepers in the league. Now, yes, that takes away from my argument a little bit, but outside of the 2 Brazilians, Ederson and Alisson, I don't see a lot right now. And I've seen a lot out of big Bobby Sanchez. Big saves. I would put him top 3, maybe top 4 to be generous, keepers this season in the Premier League. Where would you guys rank him?
Go ahead, Matt.
Top 20. Like, he's so difficult to, for me, he's difficult to get behind. Like, you see him make great saves. You see the shit start he had to the season. Then you pile that on top of the fact that he's due for at least 1, more likely 2 straight giveaways to the defense per game. It's tough. That's all I'm going to say. And some of this, so for me, Bobby Sanchez, like, some of the saves that stick out for me are like stuff that just like accidentally hit him. Like, he just kind of flew out like some limbs, and he almost like lucky saves. But I do like, he's good, but I wouldn't say he's the top of the Premier League. I'm still kind of in limbo on him. I just need to see a little bit more. If honestly, if he cleaned up like his distribution errors, I would be a lot more confident. But until those get cleaned up, I'm still very hesitant.
For me, he's a lot of Edouard Mendy 2.0. And it's a lot of the same things that we would say about Edu, which was distribution, decision making, comes up with some big saves and some big times. But like, I don't really like the save that Sanchez had seemed comfortable. It didn't seem like a phenomenal save. Like he tipped the ball over the goal, but it was hit right at him. I mean, sure, it was hit with some venom, but like he hasn't made the the top level of saves that I would sort of attribute to those top goalkeepers. And he's made many errors in his distribution, whether that's, like Matt said, passing the ball to the other team or kicking the ball out of bounds. I mean, he's good for 2 or 3 just boots out of bounds from that. And we saw a lot of that from Mendy too, right? Just the distribution side of things, he couldn't get figured out. And he's going to be the reason that we give up goals this year. He's going to account for moments. You can see it coming. Like you can feel it coming. He's tried. I've said this before. He's tried before. Sure, I like some of his command in the box. I like his size. His size is great. But as a friend that we all know well and dear, Jordan Mattingly would always say to me, he would say, "Way to be tall, Parker. Way to be tall." He had no compliment to my skills, but it was just way to be tall because I was a big middle, right? So it's not. He's a big body and he's good at what he does, but I don't rate him as a fantastic shot stopper, nor do I rate him as a distributor, someone who we can rely on to start breaks when he catches balls. I just don't think of him as someone that can do that. I really hope I'm wrong. Like with this take and my defense take, I hope I'm wrong, but what I see, I have to say. And what I see is that once we play people who have a pulse, they're going to get exposed. When we see better competition, our players are going to get exposed, because if Burnley can work through a goal like they did, where Disasi's on skates, Cucurella's on skates, and Sanchez goes the wrong way, like if I see that happen, then when we play people in the top half, which our next 6 matches are going to be, I'm fearful. I don't have any other reason to be confident. I'm fearful of what comes next. I hope I'm wrong. I hope he goes into God mode. And if he does, I will eat my words. I promise you, I will eat my words. But if and when he concedes on those games and we lose 2-1 because Bobby Sanchez threw the ball to Erling Haaland and Erling Haaland said, "Thank you very much," I'm going to say, "I told you so." So we'll have that counts. We'll have that repertoire right now on the books. If he goes into God mode, I'll eat it. I promise you I will. I just haven't seen it yet.
See, and I don't understand your defense take, because you say they're not very good. You say Bobby Sanchez isn't very good.
We'll save that. We'll save
no,
that.
No. It's part of my point here. Bobby Sanchez isn't very good. Defense isn't very good. We've talked about the midfield's defensive issues. Yeah, I know we've had a lighter schedule than some, but at the end of the day, you can only play who's in front of you. We're third in goals conceded in the Premier League. Somehow Luton Town has played a game less, and they've conceded 1 less goal than we have. So second, I'll put a second in goals conceded. Bobby Sanchez, I put a kind of a grab bag list of keepers together. Either high money signings in the case of Andre Onana. A guy who just recently took over at Arsenal, David Raya. And then some of the better keepers in the league: Alisson, Bernd Leno, Ederson. So that's your 6. Just kind of a grab bag of players here. Bobby Sanchez is second in save percentage. I would like to think he's pretty stable with the hands there. You look at the difficulty of the shots coming at him, the XG against. I think for goalies it's like post shot XG or something like that. He's third in that group in terms of difficulty. And he is second when you compare that to the actual amount of goals conceded. He's actually exceeded expectations in that respect. Overall, I think he fits in as a top keeper in this league. Like I said, outside of those top two, the two Brazilians, it's not a great field, but that doesn't take anything away from Sanchez. From a shot stopper perspective, I would put him up there, just behind those two. Distribution, yeah, it's not great, but we were fine with Mendy not being a great distributor of the ball when he was saving balls. It's when Mendy stopped saving balls that we turned on him. Sanchez, at this moment in time, 8 games into the season, is a top 3 Premier League keeper.
I just did a quick search. I wanted to see if anyone has him in their top list, and 90 minutes doesn't have him in their top 10. Like, you must be seeing something that no one else is, because they've got 10 keepers above him.
Who are the 10? Just out of curiosity.
Neto, Jordan Pickford, David Raya. Okay. Jose Sa.
I'm gonna eliminate those first two because those are high volume guys. Those are the Pete Roses of the Premier League. They have so many shots against that they have to be good.
How many times have we talked about Jordan Pickford against Chelsea that wins them points?
I don't know if I've ever said Jordan Pickford won them points.
Oh, I have.
I know exactly what game you're talking about.
Stood on his head was Matt's quote. Anywho, Jose Sa, Nick Pope, Ederson, Alfonso Areola, Robert Sanchez. Oh, he's in there. I'm sorry.
Top 5.
I concede my point. Top 3. I apologize. I did not see him.
It doesn't matter for me. I'm still not saying he's top 3, and no stats are gonna influence that. I just don't see it. I'm sorry if I'm wrong, but I just don't see it. And I'm not even talking about his shot stopping. He is stopping shots. I still don't think he's good because of his distribution. How many times I can count on both hands the amount of times he is just blatantly, as Parker said, tried to give the ball away and be like, here you go. Yeah, I don't really want this right now. So here you go. It's ridiculous. It's bad. It is bad.
But I guess
I can't support that. As a goalie, I expect you to be well-rounded. And Collins, I may be mistaken, so I apologize for that. I believe it was when you were talking about Bobby Sanchez coming up, when we were signing him. I think it was you that said he's a good distributor of the ball. I could be wrong. If I am, I'm sorry. I thought I remember somebody saying that.
That was Caicedo.
No, his distribution fucking blows. It's honestly, I think it's worse than Mendy's. I really do, and that's saying something.
But I think the overarching question with the distribution, and you can have problems with that. How many goals has it led to?
Because his defense is there. He's getting
that's his job. His job is to defend the goal.
No, his defense. The 4 people in front of him, not his defending.
Right, but they're not very good.
Defense. I never said that.
No, somebody else on this pod did.
Okay, I don't care what he said. I'm talking to you. That's fine. It's just bad when he has that many blatant giveaways. It's just bad. There's no other way to say it. And I'm sure that there's no stat for that. But still, you got to clean it up if you're going to be in the Premier League. That is why I do not think he is a top 3. I don't even think he's top 5. Argument could be made for top 10, but I don't even see him as top 5.
He has a 90% passing completion rate, which is 5 percentage points higher than the next closest.
When he's passing
Chelsea
the ball
or for keepers?
Amongst keepers. He's third in progressive distribution, so connections upfield that, you know, progress play.
Yeah, I don't trust those numbers at all. I don't, because I've seen it.
The only one that he struggles in, I'm sorry, he's first in this group too, is his long passing, anything over 30 yards. He actually leads the Premier League at 66%.
Still, I don't care what the numbers say. I don't. He's not. That's where I'm leaving it.
Yeah. For me, it does come down to eye test, and he hasn't passed my eye test yet.
Fair enough.
I appreciate the stats and the argument, because you've made me second guess some things. He just doesn't have that level of confidence. I don't have that level of confidence in him going into this hard part of our schedule. I'm worried. I'm worried how our defense holds up, and I'm worried how our keeper holds up. And I think we're going to concede a lot more than we have. I think these numbers even out, and we're a middle of the pack defense, and we're a middle of the pack goalie. We're not top in either category.
The other thing is, we're talking about his performances against relatively subpar opposition, and this is where we're seeing those mistakes. Yeah, you can say, oh, get the mistakes out early, blah blah blah. No, these mistakes are going to come back and bite you in the ass once you start playing the big boys. And I think that's what I'm leery of. I think that's what Parker's leery of.
But why not for the rest of the team? We've been talking about the rest of this team as, oh, like they're making mistakes, but they're growing. It's okay. Like, this is the time to make those mistakes. So why not Bobby Sanchez, you racist fuck?
He's not a kid.
He's 25.
He's played
the
at
same
Brighton.
age as everyone else
in the
on this
Premier
team.
League. He's been in the Premier League. Why did he get dropped down to third string or fourth string keeper at Brighton if he's so good in top three?
Yeah, look how many goals Brighton are conceding now. Clearly they needed him.
No, they needed more than that. But
yeah, Moises Caicedo.
Yeah. But no, to me, he's not top three. What was the running joke early in the season? He hasn't stopped a shot hit at him for what? It was like his first 5 attempts. They were all goals. And this is somebody who has played in the Premier League and did somewhat decent. It's not just a kid who's playing in the Premier League for the first time. That's why he doesn't get a pass.
All right. Well, I guess we'll see as the season goes on here. But oh man, this is gonna be our first episode in like a month that went over an hour. So congratulations, boys. We made it. All right. Well,
get us some drinks and get us arguing about players, and that's what happens.
Bobby Sanchez, the new Jorginho. All right. Well, if you've enjoyed this pod, make sure to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts. If you want more of our bullshit, check us out on social media: Facebook, X, Instagram, Threads. I think we're on Reddit. I haven't checked that in a while, but at Flag Down Pod, make sure to check that out. Boys, any closing thoughts?
I think we need more quotes on how our win streak is now. Colin's here, the spiritual advisor for this team. So I think we need more of that.
Don't give him that kind of power.
I don't know what to do when we go over 3 wins. I don't have a quote for 4, so might be shit out of luck. But boys, cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, boys.